Ladies and gentlemen, I have a confession to make. The kind of drama which I've witnessed today in this country, in Mombasa and in Kakamega, I've never seen before. And 3 people will never forget the day. Moses Kuria will never forget the Mombasa gubernatorial election. Ndindi Nyoro will never forget the Kakamega gubernatorial election. Charles Jagwa will never forget the Mombasa gubernatorial election. Aisha Jumwa will also not forget that particular election. And for me, I think as a country, we should not be spending billions in the name of elections. Because the elections in this country, I doubt if it's won at the ballot. In Kakamega, for example, several supporters of Malala were caught red-handed with pre-marked ballot papers. So how did they manage to access those pre-marked ballot papers? That is the question which for me is the most important question which any Kenyan of sound mind should be asking. Forget about the drama. But I want us to look at the strategies which both sides employed in this election. Because just like I explained, there are several by-elections several elections in the country, but the most important one are 3. The Mombasa, the Kakamega, and Rongai. Rongai is a bit low-key because William Ruto wants to finish Moi family, so it's a bit low-key. But for Mombasa and Kakamega, they are critical for both President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, and William Samoei Arap Ruto. And because Chebukati postponed these elections as part of his strategy to help William Ruto in rigging, ODM as a party and Azimio in general were prepared for these particular elections because they had learned their lesson during the presidential election. And these are the strategies which they employed. The first strategy which ODM employed is they activated their vote protection unit. ODM party has a vote protection unit. During general election, it doesn't perform well because they concentrate more so on aspirants and the rest. But during by-elections, the ODM vote protection unit is a lethal unit. This unit in Mombasa, they were there to do one job: protect the votes, monitor the activities and the moves of all Kenya Kwanza. And that's how Moses Kuria landed in their hands. And that's how Aisha Jumwa also landed in their hands. And that's how Charles Njagwa landed in their hands. And that's how Ndindi Nyoro landed in their hands. Moses Kuria had to go to Facebook page and cry about the ODM vote protection unit.
Mwizi! 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 wa malaya. Roro ni malaya.
Hakuna kuingia, takugonga hapa. Wewe msenge.
The ODM vote protection unit is lethal. Personally, I've been part of it. And I remember in 2014, during a by-election in Malindi, when Jubilee convinced the former member of parliament, Kazungu, to join government as our cabinet secretary, a by-election was occasioned there. And ODM sponsored Willy Mutengo. And I remember there was a guy there who was very popular called Charo. Very popular. So Jubilee employed all the state machinery in Malindi. I was there for a month. They deployed the entire state machinery. On the election day, the entire Jubilee leaders and the rest were in Malindi. Still, the ODM vote protection unit was still able to thwart them. At some point, they were being arrested, left, right, and center. They were being beaten up. That's exactly the strategy which I've witnessed in Mombasa. And by the time of doing this video, the counting had started, and hopefully the best is going to win. So the ODM employed their vote protection strategy going into this election. For number two, for Kenya Kwanza, their strategy was simple. Go into the election, persuade the supporters to vote early, then try to bribe voters. There is a thinking in Kenya Kwanza that the people of Mombasa are poor and they can be easily swayed with money. So they went with the idea of bribing the voters. That's also the same strategy which they're using in Kakamega. And because that strategy is normally easy to detect, it's easier to detect who is trying to bribe voters when the agents are there, when people are macho. They went with that idea of bribing the voters. I don't know whether it has worked. For Mombasa, it's a bit relaxed. For Kakamega, it's a bit relaxed. No much incidences, although there are several, but not as Mombasa. In Mombasa, this rigging scheme has failed because the moment they started it, the ODM vote protection unit responded very fast, and then it created fear. And then now the voters themselves now realized that Kenya Kwanza were out to give money. So they started blocking them. Whenever they were coming to polling stations, they were being blocked. Whenever they were coming to polling stations, they were being blocked. So that vote buying strategy, I don't think it has worked for Kenya Kwanza. But in Mombasa, maybe. In Kakamega, maybe. And yesterday I warned Azimio to be careful with the two things. The first thing that they needed to be careful about is the voter turnout. If the vote turnout is low, Kenya Kwanza has their structure. So they can easily convince their people to turn up. That's what they used in Msambweni during that by-election. And then I also advised them that the other strategy they should use is to protect the votes. Protecting the votes does not mean just at that point. Votes, the Kenya Kwanza can actually steal votes even during the counting. So they needed to be very strict at the voting so that any person voting was only going to be given one ballot paper, not two, not three. But that strategy of bribing voters, I don't think it's going to work. And if it's going to work, then we should expect it more. The other lesson which I'm getting from this particular, but the two elections, in my view, is that the two parties, that is the Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, are using them to lay the ground for a possible rerun. The Supreme Court will start hearing the cases tomorrow. In the next few days, they'll give their verdict. It is expected that they are going to issue nullification as a verdict. And once that's happening, once that happens, then either a rerun or a fresh election, and we are looking at a rerun. With the Raila Odinga winning Mombasa and Kakamega, he's going to achieve a lot. With Ruto winning Kakamega and Mombasa, he's going to achieve a lot. Because Kakamega is the epicenter of Western politics. Mombasa is the epicenter of the coastal politics. So the two parties or the two coalitions are actually using the election to lay the ground for a rerun. The other thing which I'm getting is that Mombasa in particular was used to persuade the entire coastal region by Kenya Kwanza to vote for them. And the percentage they got there was okay. Mombasa, they used port politics. That Joho was now running the entire port, that Uhuru and Raila transferred port to Naivasha, and that Ruto was going to bring the port. Now, assuming today Hassan Omar will be declared the winner, and then the next day William Ruto will be in Mombasa, what do you think will be their first pronouncement? Port politics. So that in case of a rerun, they are going now to use that as a campaign tool. For Raila Odinga, if they are going to win and they'll stamp a governor in Mombasa as ODM governor, it means the port politics will now not be a factor. Because the people of Mombasa shall have already voted for a governor. And that governor will be supporting Raila Odinga. And of course, William Ruto will not go to Mombasa and tell the people of Mombasa that he's going to transfer the operations of the port. So for me, I'm looking at it from that perspective. I'm also looking at the whole thing as a strategy to control the politics of Western Kenya and the politics of Mombasa, of course, in general. You know, the two by-election had similarities. They were Raila Odinga's strongholds, and the two deputy party leaders were coming from those two counties. Oparanya is competing against Musalia Mudavadi in Western. In Mombasa, Joho has been promised the Minister for Land and therefore being perceived to be the leader of the coastal region. If they are going to win Mombasa, Joho will take credit. If they are going to win Kakamega, Oparanya is going to take credit. But what will happen if Ruto is going to win in Kakamega and in Mombasa? Joho, Oparanya will be dead. They'll be finished. Why? Because they won't have a voice. The people voted for Raila Odinga, but can't vote for their gubernatorial candidates. So let us wait and see. And lastly, I'm looking at this by-election, the two, as part of presidential petition. William Ruto would want to prove a point that indeed the elections were free and fair. IBC would also want to use it to prove a point that the elections were free and fair, because even after the presidential, these other ones happened. There were a few hitches here and there, but the results were acceptable. And Raila Odinga and the team would also want to use it to explain that the elections in this country is never free and fair. Of course, if they'll be able to have evidence that Form 34As were submitted well or not. The other thing which I think the parties will be interested in is how the forms will be submitted to the KEMS-KIT. I mean, how the results will be transmitted to the tallying center. If they'll be posted, are they going to convert to PDF first, or are they going to convert into a JPEG? Because that's also another issue which has been coming up. I don't know what you think, but let us wait and see. But the drama today I've witnessed, I've never witnessed it before. Thank you, and please don't forget that we are going to have live show later today, and the topics are so many. Maybe we'll discuss the Kakamega Rongai, Mombasa, and the other by-elections. And also, William Ruto is cornered and is now asking the Supreme Court to strike off the applications by the 6 commissioners. Remember, IBC has 7 commissioners. 4 are supporting Raila Odinga's side, 3 are against. But Wafula Chebukati is the chairperson, so William Ruto wants Wafula Chebukati affidavits to remain, but these other ones to be struck off. So why is he doing that? Again, I also want to discuss with you guys the moves by William Ruto to try and penetrate Nyanza and how it has failed. Thank you guys, and please may you have a good day. Bye-bye.